In a few hours, a big Resident Evil Village event is taking place, but we already have a leak of one of the games that will be at this event, and it's kind of interesting. And the Nintendo Switch dock situation gets even weirder with this latest update, and yes, it's time for a tinfoil hat. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And yes, yesterday I finally did have my chopped cheese, and we'll talk about it at the end of the video. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. So the Resident Evil Village event is taking place today in just a few hours, and honestly, I'm looking forward to this. I think everything that we've seen so far from Resident Evil Village looks very interesting. Now, in this segment, I'm going to have lots of random Resident Evil footage because Capcom doesn't like when you use their trailers for some reason. God forbid you promote their game, but alas, I'm definitely looking forward to Resident Evil Village. I think it looks great from everything we've seen so far, and I definitely want to know more about it. But one of the main things that we've been hearing about this event is that Resident Evil Village will not be the only thing at this event. There's actually going to be more stuff. Now, since this is taking place on PlayStation's official YouTube and Twitch channels, I feel like everything that we see at this event will probably be multi-platform stuff. I don't think something like a Resident Evil Revelations 3, which is supposedly being designed with the Nintendo Switch in mind, will be at this event unless it is indeed a multi-plat sort of thing. Other things we've been hearing are remakes of the first 3 Resident Evil games, which, I mean, we've already had 2 of those, and technically the first game was already remade on the GameCube, so I'm not quite sure about that. Resident Evil 4 remake, that's of course done in the style of Resident Evil 2 and 3, but today we actually learned about something, and this is coming to us from the Humble Bundle listing of Resident Evil Village, about a new experience coming to the Resident Evil franchise that's, well, not really new, and I don't know how I feel about it. So there have been Capcom testers out there who are a part of the Resident Evil Ambassadors program, and they have been testing something that it looks like it's going to be a part of Resident Evil Village, and that is something called Resident Evil Verse, I believe is the name of this. And what this is of course a multiplayer experience for people who want to play stuff within the Resident Evil universe. And part of me wants to be somewhat excited for this, but then when you look at the track record of multiplayer Resident Evil experiences, like it's not good. Like, you remember Operation Raccoon City? Like that wasn't good. There was the game on the PS2 that was okay, but not many people had the PS2 modem. It just seems like a lot of these things that we've gotten so far within the Resident Evil franchise that are multiplayer experiences aren't very good. Of course, with Resident Evil 3, we also had Resident Evil Resistance, which was, I guess, supposed to like pad out the Resident Evil 3 experience. You got this for free when you purchased Resident Evil 3's remake, and Resident Evil 3's remake was fun, but it was admittedly pretty short. So I was kind of looking forward to Resident Evil Resistance, and unfortunately, it just didn't play very good. It wasn't very fun. I'm not quite sure why Capcom still tries to do multiplayer Resident Evil stuff. I think it's doable. I think it's definitely something that they could expand upon, but it never really seems like they managed to hit the mark with this. Now, it seems like this is going to be in a portion of Resident Evil Village, so much like Resident Evil 3 remake where you got Resident Evil Resistance, you will also get Resident Evil Verse, or whatever it's going to be called. It does seem like that's the name of it. I really hope that's not the name of it, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, because like I said, the execution of a lot of these multiplayer experiences within the Resident Evil universe has definitely been very, very lacking. And I guess it'll be cool to see this, maybe something to get hyped up about. Even if this is the only thing at this event alongside of Resident Evil Village, I'm still looking forward to it. I am a Resident Evil fan, and I think everything we've seen from Resident Evil Village so far looks absolutely awesome. Will there be other surprises at this event? Well, I hope so, just because of the fact that I love more Resident Evil stuff. Now, if a lot of cool stuff happens at this event, I will be back with a video tonight about it, because obviously I'll want to talk about it, but it does seem like another multiplayer experience is coming alongside of Resident Evil Village called Resident Evil Verse, and I don't know how I feel about it, but how do you feel about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, you might remember a month and a half or so ago, we talked about a situation with the Nintendo Switch dock potentially being discontinued. Now, this was coming to us from a Reddit post where someone had contacted Nintendo of UK asking about purchasing another Nintendo Switch dock, to which Nintendo of UK said that the dock was no longer being sold separately. Now, some people decided to look deeper into things. Gary over at Rock Solid Productions actually did some research and started looking around on various websites like Amazon and Walmart, and and he came up with the same conclusion. The dock wasn't available. You could not purchase the official first-party Nintendo Switch dock via Nintendo's website or via any of these websites at the time of the filming of that video. Make sure you guys check out Gary's channel. I'll have a link to it in the description box down below. But obviously this caused a lot of controversy. It caused a lot of speculation that was going on with things. But since then, we've had some updates about various things within the Nintendo Switch universe, and now the Nintendo Switch dock situation to me is getting even a bit weirder. So before filming this video, I decided to look at the latest situation with the Nintendo Switch dock on websites like GameStop, Amazon, and Walmart, and I came up with the same conclusion. You can still not buy an official first-party Nintendo Switch dock on these websites. You can get a used dock over on GameStop's website, but as far as a new dock is concerned, you can't get it. And obviously the dock is kind of an important thing when it comes to the Nintendo Switch because it allows you to play your games on your television and allows the Nintendo Switch itself to run a bit stronger than it does when in handheld mode. When in handheld mode, the Nintendo Switch will only run at 720p tops, meaning that it'll save battery life because of the fact that the screen on the Nintendo Switch in handheld mode is just a 720p screen. Whereas when you play it on your television, you can upscale games to 900p, 1080p in some situations as well. So it allows the Nintendo Switch to work a bit harder, and considering the fact that you don't have to worry about battery when you are in docked mode like you are in handheld mode, this is something that the Nintendo Switch obviously does. That's kind of the science behind the Nintendo Switch dock. Well, recently Nintendo of course announced a brand new Nintendo Switch model that is themed with Mario, and looking at this system you can see it comes with the dock. So here's the dock back in action. It is now a red dock. I think it looks rather dapper. I kind of want this Nintendo Switch system, but very recently Nintendo announced that on their website of Nintendo of America, you can now purchase the Nintendo Switch dock once again. And this is really just a bizarre situation because now when it comes to first-party Nintendo Switch docks, the only way to get a brand new one, should you want to get one as a secondary dock in your house, is to get it through Nintendo of America's website. So you know what, folks? It's tinfoil hat time. I guess it's more of a yarmulke than a tinfoil hat per se. It's kind of small. I actually had some Swiss cheese within this, so now my head sort of smells like Swiss cheese, but it's time to put on this tinfoil hat because you got to remember something that we talked about a couple weeks ago on the channel with the Nintendo Switch Pro data mine. Now make sure you guys check out that video to get all the information on the data mine. But one thing that was very interesting was that there was essentially a 4K chip that was not being used by the Nintendo Switch itself. It looked like an extra sort of peripheral thing. That of course led a lot of people to believe that it was the Nintendo Switch dock. So if Nintendo is having to make more Nintendo Switch docks simply to promote the So if Nintendo is having to make more Nintendo Switch docks for the Super Mario bundle that's coming out in the beginning of February, obviously they're going to have some more docks in stock. Hence the reason why they're now selling these docks on their official website. But if this is the only way to get it, obviously you can control the flow of the dock situation. A lot of people feel like the dock in the upgraded Nintendo Switch model, should we get this model in 2021, is actually going to have hardware inside of it that'll actually boost what the Nintendo Switch is capable of, and I think that makes perfect sense, especially when you're considering the Nintendo Switch Pro datamine leak pretty much said something about a 4K chip that would not be involved in the system itself, leading a lot of people to believe that it is in the dock itself. So if Nintendo is making a new dock, this is a perfect way to get rid of some of the dock stock, that's kind of a funny thing to say, in order to alleviate their stock supplies of these, and of course get ready for this new Nintendo Switch model. Now like I said, this is a lot of tinfoil hat stuff, but I think when you connect the dots here, you could definitely make a case for this. So I basically wanted to update you guys on this Nintendo Switch dock situation because it's getting more and more strange. Things like these leaks coming out within the data mine, and now Nintendo is the only place to get the official Nintendo Switch dock, which you'll probably want to use because there was some issues with third-party docks. I don't know, man. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I do have my tinfoil hat on. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm out of my mind, but maybe I'm not. What do you think about the dock situation? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. Another multiplayer Resident Evil experience. Is this something that tickles your fancy, or you're just kind of on the fence about it like I am, and you need to see it in action and actually play it because, well, Resident Evil Resistance just wasn't that good. And the Nintendo Switch dock situation. Is Nintendo clearing out dock stock in order to get rid of these docks to get a Nintendo Switch Pro model going, or is it just complete circumstance that everything just is lining up in this situation and you still can't buy a new Nintendo Switch dock anywhere, and that's just one big coinky dink, one big coincidence? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Like I said at the start, I had my chopped cheese yesterday, and it was very good. I was very surprised with how much I enjoyed it. It's pretty much like a burger sort of tasting thing, but it's like a sub. And I think the way they chop up the meat is very important because you have these little chunks of meat with the onions and the lettuce and the tomato and the seasonings going on. It was absolutely delicious. Of course, the cheese is in there as well. This is something that I will be revisiting. This is a popular meal in the New York City area, or if you live in surrounding areas, you can also get a chopped cheese as well. I think it's a very great sandwich. I was very pleased with it. It definitely made my Wednesday a bit special. And as always, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.